Welcome everyone at the second part of our lecture about utilitarianism and deontology. In the second part, we will talk about Kantian ethics, or as deontology, an ethics based on duties and principles. Kant, Immanuel Kant, German philosopher from the 1724-1804, was one of the most influential philosophers of Western culture and Western philosophy. However, even though he wrote a lot about ontology, epistemology, theory of knowledge, and many other disciplines and many other fields of philosophy, we are going to talk about his ethics. His ethics, that is one of the most famous and the most influential, together with the utilitarianism. His ethics, Kantian ethics, or deontology, is based on some attributes that are intrinsic and essential to define humanity. These principles, these attributes are rationality, autonomy, respect, and reciprocity. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should be act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood, is deeply based on a Kantian ethics, an ethics that view humanity as something special. If you should know it already, these imply human supremacy, anthropocentrism, and particularly human exceptionalism. Kant was, and his philosophy is, a philosophy deeply anthropocentric. Yet there are ways we can move forward and try to make of Kant and of Kantian ethics something less anthropocentric that can include other living beings or natural entities. But let's start with the traditional Kant, because now we are talking mostly about traditional ethical theories. Kant, as we said before, is had as a goal the one of replacing a religion-based ethics with secular ethics, an ethics grounded on rationality and logics. How did Kant achieve this goal? He did it by starting with the recognition of certain specific attributes of humanity that we have just mentioned. So again, rationality, autonomy, and then respect and reciprocity. These attributes of humanity are attributes of humanity when it comes to ethics. So we as humans are rational, and thus, because we are rational, we are also moral agents, ethical agents. So when we act in an ethical way, in a moral way, and we can act morally toward other people. Because we are moral agents, we are also moral patients. It means, in practice, that if we can act ethically, other people should and must act ethically toward us. So basically, being capable of rationality, being capable of rationality means to be capable of ethical and moral actions. Consequentially, being ethical of moral actions means that we also deserve to be treated ethically. The people that can perform ethics are the people that can perform rationality, and the people that can perform ethics and rationality are the people that must be subject of ethical actions. And so you can see already that there is a kind of essentialism, because humanity, for Kant, is by default an entity, a group, a category of people, of individuals that has the attribute of rationality. And because we have the attribute of rationality, we deserve to be treated ethically, and we must treat other people ethically. The problem is that not all moral agents are actually also, not all moral patients are actually moral agents, if we want to consider humanity as a common term, as a common umbrella, because there are infants that we tend not to consider fully moral agents because we don't consider them fully rational. And there are people with brain damages, for example, that still are not capable of behaving as moral agents. Yet, for Kant, the fact of belonging to humanity, and even if we cannot at the very moment or anymore perform rationality, is still enough to be part of this common space, this common entity that is humanity, and therefore requires respect and must perform an ethical behavior. So what Kant is saying is that humans are different from other entities, are different from animals. We have rationality, so we can be in control of our action, and because we can be in control of our actions, we must be in control of them, and we must do it toward the people that can do the same or can potentially do the same. And this is why Kant ethics is pretty much anthropocentric, because non-human animals are totally distinguished in a very precise way, in a very strong way from humans, because they are not rational. In fact, for Kant, there are in every person, there are both instances of animality and instances of rationality. And if we are driven by our passions, our animal instincts, we will be always heteronomous, so directed from outside, directed by forces that we cannot control. But because we have a rational mind, we can self-control, we can self-legislate, and so we can be autonomous, independent. And so we can see the second of the attributes, rationality and autonomy. And because we are potentially self-legislating beings, we can respect each other. And this this brought Kant to his most important conclusion about ethics, the idea of the one single imperative, one single golden rule, that is the categorical imperative. So what is the categorical imperative is very famous. You probably have already heard about it. Is the idea that we should treat others as ends in themselves and not just as means, as a mere means. Following this statement of Kant, we can also divide it into two parts. One that is the universal law formula, and the other one is the humanity formula. So the universal law formula is pretty much saying that whenever we act, we should act in a way in which we will want and we will agree rationally that this action will be a universal rule. So if I act, for example, and I think that lying is bad, I should also act in a way in which I think that this must be a golden rule. I don't want people to lie. I should not lie, and therefore lying should always be considered bad. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to kill. I don't want other people to kill other people, and therefore killing must be ruled out. I will read you more precisely the definition of this universal law formula. Is a principle of rational reciprocity, commanding each of us to act on principles that all persons could rationally accept. In other words, act only according to the maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and it's pretty genial. You should think about which action you would like society to do and which action you would like society never to do. And this must be a golden rule on which all humanity can find a common agreement. So lying is bad. I don't want other people to lie to me. I should therefore not lie. And because I don't want other people to lie to me, and I and I don't have to lie, and other people will agree with me on this because we are all rational beings, so we can agree on this. We don't need a God above. We just need our rationality to decide that certain things must not be done. And on this, you can clearly see the difference between utilitarianism and Kantian ethics. Kantian ethics, it's important because it's the advantage of making us saying that there are no trade-offs, no compromises, certain things are bad, contrary to utilitarianism that could accept even genocide if genocide will allow us to increase overall happiness. This is not possible. in a Kantian ethics. But what is not also possible in a Kantian ethics is maybe lying or using violence, even if the use of lies or violence would overall create a better society. So you can see there are good and positive aspects of Kantian ethics if we compare it to utilitarianism. What else? What else you can see? The humanity formula. I also read this passage because I want it to be clear, as clear as possible. The second humanity formula is what I briefly mentioned before. That is the base of the categorical imperative. The humanity formula, which emphasizes our duty to respect others and to act only in a way that reflects our recognition of others as rational, autonomous beings. Act so that you treat humanity always as an end and never as a means only. So, to say it again, we should always treat other people, other human people, as end in themselves and never as mere means. Why mere means? Because sometimes when we interact with other people, we treat them as means because we can need them and we can have an instrumental approach toward them. But if the instrumental approach undermines their autonomy, their rationality, their effect of being humans, this is bad. So we cannot treat them basically as objects, as resources, as animals, as we treat animals, for example, in animal farming. In animal farming facilities, in animal farms, especially in factory farming. So, what can we say more about Kantian ethics? That there are things that we should not do, point, and this is what distinguishes Kantian ethics in a strong way from utilitarianism, because there are no trade-offs. There is no special circumstances. There are no special circumstances in which we can perform an action that goes against this principle of rationality. And Kantian ethics, therefore, is called also deontology, that from the Greeks means basically an ethics based on duties. For example, you probably have already heard about deontology when it comes to physicians, doctors, people working in the healthcare system. We have a society that is deeply divided between utilitarianism and deontology. For example, we tend to not think about it too much, but laws tend to be extremely deontological. Instead, policy making, political decisions tend to be overall based, when they are based on genuine interest for the common good, are tend to be based on a cost and benefits analysis that based on utilitarianism. So also us as subjects, we tend to act individually, generally, both following some principles like I don't want to lie, I feel that lie is wrong, that lying is wrong, and on the other hand, we tend to also take into account consequences. So as a society, as individuals, we tend to be genuinely split between acting in a Kantian way and acting in a utilitarian way. So it's important to recognize it. As I said at the beginning of this lecture, it's really important to never forget that ethical theories are models and not something that can fully represent the complexity of humans as ethical agents. So there are also very many multiple shaded zones in which we don't know how to act or why we act in the way in which we act. So there is a lot more. There is a lot more complexity. As I said at the beginning of the lecture, ethics is a work in progress, and so we should consider it as such. However, it is important to say this before concluding, because the lecture of today was long enough and you will have a lot of material to think about, and you have soon the assignment about anthropocentrism, so I don't want to take away from you even more time. Some people tried to go against or expand, better than going against is better formulation, is to say expanding. They try to expand the humanity formula to include not only human beings. For example, Tom Regan, the other famous name in the animal rights movement, together with Peter Singer, he tried to modify Kant in order to include subjects of lives. So basically, to include non-humans, at least certain animals that are capable to experience lives and having both interests and the capacity to experience something beyond just pleasure and pain. So the definition of Reagan is a little bit more complicated than the one of Peter Singer and the utilitarians, because it's not just about experiencing pleasure and pain, but there is also consciousness as an element that characterize our moral patience. So so Reagan is more strict about which non-humans can join the club of the moral patients, contrary to, for example, Peter Singer. But when it comes to them, there is no trade-off. If you cannot kill an animal because it's a moral patience, you can never kill an animal. So there's no way you can instrumentalize an animal and considering it as a mere object, if even if this will maximize the overall happiness. So you can see a contrast between utilitarianism and deontology, also when it comes to battles over animal liberation and animal rights. Another famous thinker, this one more related to environmental ethics rather than simply animal ethics, is Paul Taylor. And Paul Taylor tried to expand the notion of Kant and considering never as just a mere mean, not just humans, but every living thing. So he has an approach that is more known as biocentrism. So putting not the anthropos, the human, at the center, but putting everything that is alive at the center. So biocentrism. I hope that I've been clear enough. I think that the book that you have, your manual of environmental ethics, is pretty good in explaining both deontology and both deontology and utilitarianism. So I hope that you will find my lesson good enough to help you navigating these complex topics. And I wish you good luck with the discussion of the week. You can always contact me or Anna for further clarifications. Have a lovely day.